Snow, plummeting temperature, Christmas merch. My outdoor photo shoots are now pretty much on hiatus. What better time than to look at my gear? It's a photo camera, it's a video camera, the Sony FX2. In the past, I've always had to bias my camera choice. Is it more a video camera or is it more a photo camera? But there was always a compromise. This is the first time I've felt that there isn't a compromise for video or for photos. And yeah, sure, I did buy one before the Sony a7 IV was announced, which would have perhaps changed my choice. But like I've said in a previous video, I don't have any regrets. So I like 24mm for indoor talking head shots or establishing shots. It's a lens that still has a bias towards the subject object, but wide enough to take in the scene. I like the Sony G Master because of the size and the weight. There are other lenses that might be just as fast, but it's larger and heavier, or it's much smaller but not quite as fast. And as a wide-angle lens at 24mm, I think this is one of the few times you can really argue that f1.4 can be worth it if that's the look you want, because f1.4 at 24mm does look different from 1.8 or 2.8. As a portrait photographer, I've always biased my lens choice to primes. Better image quality, lighter weight. Zooms today are just as good in image quality, but of course heavier. The problem? I've never liked the f2.8 aperture for portraits. I prefer a minimum of f2 when I want more bokeh, and I use f4 if I need more depth of field. f2.8 is an aperture that I rarely use. But for video, it's the opposite. f2.8 is what I use when I want more bokeh, and the versatility of the zoom outweighs any image quality and faster aperture that a prime would provide. So again, through my entire photography career, I've had to compromise. So I've tried to stay away from the 50 to 150 because of obviously the price and complaints about the weight. Now owning one, I find that I'm surprised that the weight is not really a factor. I don't know exactly what people are complaining about. It seems lighter to me than the 70 to 200 f2.8 that I used to own for the DSLR back in the day. Now the price, yeah, the price still hurts. But for me, this is a lens that for the first time has no compromise for how I shoot and what I shoot. So as 2025 comes to a close, that is my kit. I'm not the kind of photographer or videographer that likes to have a lot of bodies and lenses. I don't know why, but it's always kind of stressed me out to just have gear sitting on the shelf that I don't use regularly. It's funny because at the beginning of 2025, I bought a Ricoh GR3 because I wanted a high quality camera that I could just carry as an EDC. But then even that started to stress me out because it was like, I just want to go out, I'm just going to grab a coffee. But then all of a sudden it was like, oh, but I want to take my camera. And if I'm taking my camera, I need to take a small bag with me. And then what should have just been something fun to carry to capture memories became something of a burden and kind of a responsibility and job, which totally defeated the purpose of me buying that Ricoh. And so now I once again just accept that I'm just going to use my cell phone for those random captures, because even though in theory having an EDC would be great, for whatever reason it doesn't work out that way for me. I always end up taking way too much stuff, and it never works out. It's never fun anymore. I always feel a responsibility that I must. But with this Sony kit that I have now, I feel very, very comfortable for what it is. It does photos, it does videos uncompromisingly. I mean that in a way, not that it's superior to what is out there now in terms of hybrids, but if I were to buy an a7 IV and an FX30, I would not gain a single benefit over this FX2. While owning an FX2, I lose nothing to either an a7 IV or an FX30, while gaining a few things that neither one has. So in that way, I feel very comfortable in the fact that I'm not wasting anything. And in terms of lenses, it's very weird because the 50 to 150 has gotten kind of a weird mixed reaction from the internet crowd at large, where people seem to praise its image quality, but at the same time scoff at it or kind of dismiss it because of the price. And I totally understand that because I didn't want to like this lens either. But it solves so many issues for me where I get what I want without compromise again. Yeah, I just keep repeating no compromise, but when I need to do video work, it's a great video lens. If I want to take stills, it's a great stills lens. And juggling a lot of lenses at first doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but if you're a hobbyist photographer or videographer like I am for the most part these days, you don't have assistants, you don't even have like a closed off controlled environment. So you're running and gunning and doing guerrilla style shooting. And, dust, accidentally dropping a lens or putting a lens on a surface where, it could fall or get scratched, that brings its own burdens and hassles. So just having like a competent, versatile zoom lens is awesome in those situations. And these days, I tend to prefer longer focal lengths. So I shoot a lot of my portraits between 85 millimeters to 200 millimeters. And of course, 200 millimeter in terms of buying a dedicated prime lens is a big investment, not in terms of just cost and weight, but I mean, realistically, in every photo shoot, it's going to be good for a handful of shots, and then you're going to switch to another lens anyway. But it has a look that's undeniable. So you're going to carry that 200 and, an 85, a 50, so having one lens that does it all is a relief, honestly. And I can find no fault with it at all. I mean, sure, you can make the argument from 85 to 135 millimeters, you can find cheaper, better options than the Sony 50 to 150. But I have to tell you, once you get to 100 millimeters and up, the Sony is fantastic. And there is no 150 millimeter f2 out there. And 135 kind of mimics a look of a 200, but 150 mimics the look of a 200 even better. And 150 f2 and 200 f2 are pretty close. So in the portraits side, I'm very, very satisfied. And in terms of video, going to f2 to me is just a bonus. Like I said, I shoot most of my video work at f2.8 for the shallow stuff anyway. So having an extra stop of light and depth of field is just icing on the cake for me. So I'm still in the honeymoon phase. I mean, I could be complaining about this stuff in 6 months, but right now, very, very satisfied with where I'm at. So for those of you out there trying to pick your kit, just remember that sometimes chasing the shiny thing is not the best option. And also, sometimes the more expensive option is worth it in the long run versus going the cheaper route. I initially resisted the Sony 50 to 150 by going with some Viltrox lenses, the 135 f1.8 and the 35 f1.2. Great lenses, great image quality, but in the end, just not really for me. There were just some usability quirks that I found very, very uncomfortable and kind of time consuming over time. And in the end, image quality alone didn't make... image quality alone wasn't enough to make it a keeper for me. The Sony, on the other hand, so far, everything seems to be really great about it, except for the price. And that, over time, hopefully that scar will fade and the money will return. All right, I've rambled long enough. Thanks for watching if you've watched this far. And happy holidays if I don't make another video until then. Bye.